Hey guys, what's up? My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel. And today's video is going to be one of those in-between ones because I want to talk about TV shows. Also, I am sick. The kids I babysit both had very, very nasty colds. And then one day they decided it was a good idea to cough in my face. And literally less than 24 hours later, I also had a nasty cold. So bear with me, there's going to be moments where I can't really breathe through my nose and I have to cough. It's a whole thing. But yeah, I want to talk about TV shows that I've watched in 2021 so far. Back in 2020, I started keeping count of TV shows I watched just because in 2020, because of COVID, everything that was going on, I watched more TV than I ever have in my life. And because I was keeping track in 2020, I can't just stop, so I started keeping track in 2021 as well. And then when it comes to TV shows, I want to do like quarterly wrap-ups. Therefore, when I do my end of the year like tier ranking, I don't have to fit in so many synopses in such a short amount of time. I could just be like, refer to this video if you want to see more about this show, blah blah blah, in my opinion. Just like with the movies, I want to do quarterly wrap-ups. So by quarterly, yes, this is coming out like the last week of April. All of these TV shows were watched from January 1st to March 31st, and there's going to be 5 that I want to talk about. So let's get started. So the first show that I watched in 2021 was American Horror Story 1984. This is the 9th season, and if you don't know, American Horror Story is an anthology series, so each season is a different story. Oh, I watched this on Netflix, by the way, if you need a way of getting to it. And it's only like 9 episodes as well. This takes place in the 80s. It's about college students. It's the summertime. They need jobs. So they sign up to be counselors at this one camp. The thing is, this camp is opening on like the anniversary, or was it that? No, but this camp was closed for like years because back in whatever time it was, there was like a murder spree back in the 70s, I think it was. So on their first night there, they're all talking about the famous murder. And as you do in American Horror Story, shit ensues. And I can't talk about it much more without spoiling. Honestly, this season was just okay. It's not my favorite. Some episodes I really hated. Some I did enjoy. Like, once I got to the ending, I really enjoyed it. The ending gave me chills. Thing is, this season's actually really well written, which you're probably like, well, if it's well written, why did you not like it? It's well written to the point it's very, very reminiscent of 80s slasher movies. It did such a good job of mimicking 80s slasher movies that it reminded me of why I do not like 80s slasher movies. People in those movies are so fucking stupid, and I was constantly like screaming at my computer, at my laptop, like, please, why did you make that choice? And it's mostly like the first half of the season where they're like really stupid. I know at one point the murderer is out and about killing people, and yet Emma Roberts' character still thinks it's a good idea to walk outside alone to get to this phone. And it's like, at least, like, first of all, don't walk outside. Second, I know you do need to call for help, so at least take a travel buddy. I don't know. Also, lock your fucking doors. But yeah, there's just so many stupid decisions that people made in this. It's like, I just can't. But at the same time, I know I'm blaming the writers when I shouldn't blame the writers, because again, they do this to emulate. What word am I looking for? Let me make sure I'm using that word correctly. Emulate. I was using it correctly. And like, again, I shouldn't blame the writers because they were doing this to emulate 80 slasher movies. And in 80 slasher movies, they always made these dumb decisions. And not just in those type of horror movies. To this day, I'm still watching horror movies where the characters are making really stupid, shitty decisions. Because if the door was locked the whole time, then we wouldn't have a movie. But like, I don't know, like, these characters just really, really pissed me off in the beginning with their stupidity. And it's like, damn, this is why I never liked these type of shows, these type of movies. But then as the season went on, it was okay. I did like the twists and turns. The ending made me feel good inside. And it's not the worst season of American Horror Story, but like, it's definitely not in my top 3. The next show I watched was Turn Washington Spies, which is a total of 4 seasons, a total of 40 episodes, and I also watched this on Netflix. So Turn Washington Spies is actually based on a true story. It is based on the story of the Culper spy ring, which is an actual spy ring that happened during the Revolutionary War. They were on the side of the Patriots, but the main guy, I forgot what his real name was, but his spy name was Samuel Culper, and he had the British, according to the show at least, because I've never heard of this until watching the show, according to the show, he had the British, so like the loyalists, believe he was on their side, when in reality he was on the Patriots and working for this ring, and they were like in direct line with George Washington, and that's the basis of the show. So let's be serious here. I wasn't going to watch the show. If I usually don't have any desire to watch shows like this, but my friends watched it and they're like, Dom, you gotta see this. And I was like, alright, I'll do it for you, I'll make you happy. I had a lot of problems with this show, to the point you're gonna ask me why didn't I just stop watching it. I should have stopped watching it, but I didn't. I'm nosy. I had to know what the end was. First of all, it was boring. A lot of what happened in the show was very boring. Another thing was the characterization of these characters, which I guess this is kind of risky territory to talk about, because the guy who made the show, he took a lot of creative liberties. Like, a lot happened in real life, but also a lot did not happen. For example, the main guy, who is played, if you're an emo like me, you will recognize him from the music video for Wake Me Up When September Ends by Green Day. He is the guy from that music video, Jamie Bell. In the show, he had a child and was married to his wife in the show, whereas I was reading about it in real life, he didn't. He was not married to her yet. They didn't get married until after the war, and then they had their children. My main thing with the show was the characters. Like, so many of these characters just weren't likable for me. Like, here's a show made by an American. It's the Patriots versus the Loyalists of the Revolutionary War. The Americans won. I am an American, and you think I should be rooting for the Patriots, right? And yet, every fucking Patriot character managed to be so fucking incompetent. They had no idea what the hell they were doing, which I wouldn't doubt that actually happened in the war. I'm sure during wars you have to make a lot of decisions and you're not sure what's gonna happen. But the guy making the show only showed the incompetence of the Patriots, whereas the British soldiers were portrayed to be much smarter, and they knew what the hell they were doing, and they were just, not only did they know what the hell they were doing, but they were also nicer people. Like, the Patriots were dicks, but the British people were just so nice, and it's like, hold on, you want me, the American, to root for the Americans, but the British soldiers are more likable. Like, with the way the show portrayed these people, if I sat in one of the spy meetings, I would have just given up. I would have given up on America, gotten up, and like walk over. I would have crossed the line and joined the British. This show had me questioning how the fuck, it had a way of making me question how the fuck we won the Revolutionary War. Like, okay, and it's also frustrating because we all have our things with villains, right? Like, there's some villains that there's some villains that you love. Like, villains I love. I love watching the Joker do his thing. I love watching Azula do her thing. I love watching Harley Quinn do her thing. But then there's villains that you just love to hate. But you're like having fun with how evil they are because they're actually well written. For example, Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Like, I love to hate her because she is just so well written. Like, she just made me angry. Whereas one of the villains in this show, Captain John Simcoe, who was real, he was an actual captain of the Queen's Rangers. The way he is written, he is horrible. He's a horrible human being within the show's time era, and you're clearly supposed to hate this guy's guts. My thing is, though, as much as I did hate him, he was one of 3 superiorly competent characters. Like, oh my god. And the other 2 superiorly competent characters were also the British soldiers. Like, that's my thing. I'm like, you want me to, like, hate this guy? Like, you're clearly supposed to hate him. And his voice was like nails on a chalkboard. Holy crap. He's one of, like, 3 people who knew what the fuck they were doing. And I had to kind of applaud him for that. But, like, it's also what made the show so frustrating. Because, again, you want me to root for one side, but it's the other side that knows what they're doing. And I don't understand it. And one of those competent characters was killed off, but like they had to kill him off because he was executed in real life, and I was still like, no. John Andre, I will avenge you. Actually, I will say there's one more character I do like who was a patriot, and that was Abigail. Just to find out she's fictional. They wrote her for the show, so that was a little upsetting. I was like, wow, she gave me faith in the American Army. But it's because she's fictional. That's why it worked. One thing about this show that I actually found interesting, and I actually appreciate, were the accents that the actors use. I mean, whenever I watch movies that take place during the American Revolutionary War, the Patriots have the modern day American accent, while, you know, the Redcoats have British accents. That's obviously in order for the audience to differentiate between the two. So I understand that stylistic choice. It's just that if you think about it, the modern day American accent probably wasn't around back then. Technically, the American Revolutionary War was, you know, British people that were for the king versus British people that were against the king living in the land they colonized. So I'm sure both sides actually had British accents. And one thing that I actually liked about the show is that the director actually had all the actors, whether they were the Patriots or the British, they all had a variation of the British accent. More movies should probably do that for the historical accuracy. I do have to say though, some of these characters had no business being as pretty as they were. Like John Andre, beautiful. Ben Talmadge, beautiful. Lafayette, beautiful. Like, he has no business being that cute. So then the next one I watched was the Cecil Hotel documentary that's on Netflix. It's 4 episodes long, and I watched all 4 episodes in one sitting. And this is about the case of Eliza Lamb. She was a Canadian who went on vacation in California. I believe this hotel's in San Diego. And then a few days later, her naked body was found in one of the water tanks on the roof, and kind of to this day, it's really, people don't know what happened, and a lot of people thought it was a murder. So this documentary spent all 4 episodes trying to come up with a conclusion. And I will be spoiling it because I kind of have to in order to share my thoughts. So if you don't want any spoilers, just know that I personally am satisfied with the conclusion this documentary came up with. And that's really all I can say without spoiling. So if you guys want to move on to the next TV show, just click to whatever this timestamp is. So basically, the documentary said a lot of it had to do with Eliza's bipolar disorder. So initially, after her dead body was found, the police went in the news, and they said that the top of the water tower tank, like that little door, was closed. So that started all these conspiracies that she was murdered, and people were suspicious. Why was she naked in the first place? And her clothes were in the water tank. They found them at the bottom of the water tank, and people were like, what's up with that? And then there's that video of her in the elevator, which is considered like the last footage of her. Fast forwarding to the end, turns out the janitor who found her actually saw the latch of the water tank. That door was actually open, and then the cop that went on the news, he misspoke. And according to the documentary, they looked into her medication and stuff, because according to her family, Eliza often believed that she didn't need her medication anymore, which is actually a sign of bipolar. Bipolar does run in my family, so I have seen this happen a lot. And then there were autopsy reports. She didn't show any physical signs of struggle. They did autopsy reports of, the insides of her body. And then the only drugs they found were her prescription medication. And even then, they didn't find enough in her system, so they found out she was actually underdosing herself. The conclusion the documentary came up with is that she was basically going through a very, very severe manic episode. And they believe no one was chasing her. She just hallucinated that someone was. I've seen family members in manic episodes, and a lot of Eliza's behavior that they were talking about, it checked out, honestly, which I know kind of sounds bad to say, because it kind of sounds like they're blaming it on, they're blaming it on mental illness, but I this stuff does need to be talked about, in my opinion. I don't know, her behavior in the elevator, for example. To me, that actually checked out, because I know a lot of people, they bring up, a lot of people who do think it's still a murder, they bring up the elevator, and they're like, well, why was the door open? Clearly someone was pressing a button. Why was that extra shoe there? But to me, when she was pressing all the buttons, it looked like she was pressing one of the buttons that said door open. And if you press the door open elevator button, the elevator door stays open for a while. And not only that, but she was jumping back and forth between the elevator and then, the hallway, setting off those motion sensors, and those motion sensors are meant to keep the door open and not close on you. So that was my other thing, and it's have y'all never been in an elevator? So many people keep telling me, all my friends and stuff, they're like, no, that's not her foot. But see, when I see that foot, all I see is that it's Eliza's foot, and she's just turning on her heel. And then, so going back to the bipolar and the manic episodes, they believe she thought someone was chasing her. and she made her way up to the water tower as a way to hide, because again, the janitor did say that latch was open, so they believe she opened it herself, jumped in, and then, you know, realized she was in the wrong place and had to climb back out. But once you're in those water towers, you can't get out. There's nowhere for you to climb. And then the conclusion is the reason she was naked was because of hypothermia. Like, her body got so cold that it got numb and warm and probably, like, really hot, so that's why she took off her clothes. Or, you know, just to keep her afloat because it is hard to swim in wet clothes, and just eventually drowned. So that's the conclusion they came up with, and quite frankly, I am, like, satisfied might be a weird word for that, but, like, I'm okay with that conclusion. It does make the most sense to me. Of course, I still have a lot of questions, but I just think this is going to be one of those cases where, like, we'll never find out the exact truth. But a lot of people on Twitter were upset. I thought it was actually, like, pretty iffy. Like, a lot of people, like, half the people were like, this is really sad, we need to bring more awareness to mental health. But then the other half of Twitter was very upset. They thought it was stigmatizing bipolar. Just some people, like, the way I was reading it, some people, it honestly just sounded like a lot of people were just mad. Their, like, crazy conspiracy theory wasn't correct. I know, like, another complaint about this documentary is that it should have only been 2 episodes. Like, a lot of people think the middle 2 weren't needed. I am of the unpopular opinion that they were needed, because those 2 middle episodes spent time, like, dissecting all these conspiracy theories that the web sleuths came up with and disproving them. I mean, do I agree they could have been shorter? Yes. Maybe they could have been just, like, 1 single episode. I don't know. Like, there's just so many mixed things about this documentary on Twitter, and, like, that one dude, that, like, one web sleuth who needs help. He was so, I don't want to say dissatisfied, but he was so uncomfortable with the, like, final conclusions and, like, couldn't believe it that he literally paid someone to go to Eliza Lamb's grave and touch it for him, so that it could be real, that he can make sure it's real. And I'm like, dude, that's not healthy. Get help. That's weird. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on that. Like, this is case closed for me, moving on to other true crime, other true unsolved crime, and people could just take it as they wish. So then the next show I watched is another documentary. It's called The Imagineering Story. This is only 6 episodes long, and it was on Disney+. So this is just the story of the Imagineers from the start of the parks to modern day. If you don't know what Imagineers are, they are the people that designed the Walt Disney World parks. And like I said, this documentary takes place from the moment Disneyland, which is the first ever park, opened until, like, 2019 or whenever this was published. There's, like, 3 separate storylines going on in each episode, and, like, I enjoyed myself. It was pretty good. I mean, not only did we get to learn about, like, the American parks, Disneyland and Disney World, but we actually learned about the making of the other parks, and it was really cool. So we got to see them design, like, Disneyland Tokyo, Disneyland Paris, Disneyland Shanghai. The making of that one was pretty cool. Disneyland Hong Kong, and just seeing how, like, the behind the scenes of how some rides work. Like, I always wondered how the Haunted Mansion worked with the dancing ghost, and I got to see it finally. And yeah, it was also there was also so many feel-good moments, because, like, they were talking about how some people in Japan actually see Disneyland there as a safe haven. It was just hearing how the Imagineers, like, talk about that whole experience, and they started crying, so then I started crying, because they're like, yeah, we did that. We brought some, you know, happiness where they needed it. And I was like, yeah, y'all are making me cry now. It had a way of making me want my job at Disney World back. Like, I think I've been pretty open on this channel that after the way Disney handled COVID when it all first started back in March of 2020, like, I never want to work there again with the way they treated us. But, you know, propaganda. So that, yeah, like, this documentary kind of made me want my job back, but don't expect that anytime soon. This is not bingeable, I have to say. Like sometimes I couldn't even watch 1 episode a day. Like, there are a few where it took me 3 days to watch a single episode, just because so much happens in 1 episode. They're each, like, an hour long, but because so much happens, you think, like, 3 hours have gone by. And I was like, holy shit. So if you want something to binge, this is not the one. Oh, if you really like Star Wars, I actually recommend watching this, because seeing, like, the behind the scenes of, like, making the Star Wars tour guide, but then also making Galaxy's Edge, which is the new Star Wars park, like, I would recommend watching the making of those, because that was pretty cool. It made me really want to go back and, like, make a lightsaber and a droid. And then the last show I completed from January to March of 2021 was Attack on Titan. And bro, don't even fucking speak to me. I watched this show from beginning to end. I started the show in mid-February. and caught up in time to see season 4, episode 12 premiere, which means I watched 70 episodes in 2 weeks. And then I had to wait for the last 5 episodes to premiere. I know. So if you don't know what this is about, this is based off a very, very popular manga that actually just finished. The last chapter just came out earlier in the month of April. But this is about kind of like a post-apocalyptic world where the human race is going extinct because they were being eaten by these things called titans. So they made these walls, kind of like Ba Sing Se style. They made these walls to protect the last of the humans. The last of the humans live within these 3 walls. And our main character, Eren Yeager, wants to join the Survey Corps, which is the sect of the military that leaves the walls to go out and kill these titans. 1, because he does think there's a world outside that he wants to see, and 2, because something shitty happens and he wants to get back at the titans for destroying his life. You know, knowing that description, so one of the reasons I got into it, because I remember when season 4 started premiering and all these people on Facebook were like freaking out. My friend, who's a huge otaku, was like, you have to watch this now. Knowing that what the show is about, I was not expecting it to be as emotional as it is. Episode 1, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting that ending. My jaw literally dropped watching it. Like, they just killed the person off so mercilessly. I mean, like, that's the thing with these titans. They just, like, eat these people with absolutely no mercy. And, like this show has a way of introducing people that you think are going to be protected by plot armor, but again, just to be murdered with absolutely no mercy whatsoever. Like, this author, I think he even said this too. He just wants us to be in pain. He wants us to never be happy ever again. Like, there's just so much to talk about with this show, but every little detail is a spoiler, and I'm so scared to get deep into it. Like, everything I'm describing to you is basically the first 10 episodes, because everything I want to say is later, but they're just such big reveals, and it's like, what are the words? What are the words? Okay, but titans, they're like the weirdest motherfuckers you will ever see. They're humanoid, but they're huge. They're like Statue of Liberty huge. They have no genitals, which, like, weirdly enough, I need them to have genitals. I know that sounds really weird, but it's like, they're naked, so you could see everything, but, like, when I look at them, I can't help but think something is off about them and they need something, and it's like, I know what they need. Now I know why humans have genitals, because we would look fucking weird without them. Also, the theme song, absolute banger. All the theme songs, absolute bangers. The OST, gorgeous. I love all these characters. Like, there's just characters I hold dear to my heart now, and it's like, why join the Eren and Mika? Like, there's like ship wars. So, and my friend warned me too. She said this fandom can get pretty toxic, and I, like, learned fast what she meant by that. But I know there's, like, huge shipping wars between, like, the people who ship Eren and Mikasa, and then Eren and another character. Why would I join that shipping war when I could ship Mikasa with happiness? When I could ship anyone with happiness? These characters, there's so many. They better get happy endings. Like, especially Mikasa. I want her to have a happy ending so bad. And, you know, there are certain scenes between Eren and Mikasa that I rewatched just so I could feel something, just so I could feel alive. And it's season 1, episode 6, when we get Mikasa's backstory and he wraps his scarf around her. Season 2 finale, that part. And, like, Armin, I love him. I hold him dear to my heart. Erwin Smith, oh my god, that is my anime husband. There is no reason he should be that handsome, but he is. I am a slut for Erwin Smith, and I am proud to admit that. Some of those episodes they were just so emotional. Like, season 3, episode 17, I was sobbing. Season 3, episode 18 had no business being that sad. Season 4, episode 8, okay, like, no business. I was, what? And then those last 4 episodes brought me nothing but pain, and I'm not emotionally prepared for 2022 when this picks up again. I also need to get started on the manga, because every time I see shit on Instagram, I have to, like, scroll really fast, because y'all manga readers don't know how to shut the fuck up. I was actually spoiled for some certain things, and luckily the things I was spoiled for already happened in the anime, because if I'm spoiled for anything in the later half of season 4, I will be pissed. Like, y'all manga readers need to learn to shut the fuck up. Like, keep your mouth shut. Happened with Demon Slayer. Someone spoiled the fucking ending to Demon Slayer for me, and I'm not happy about it. Out of the very, very few anime I've ever seen in my life, like, I think I've only seen like 12. This is definitely the best one I've ever seen, and I'm so glad I gave in and watched this. I don't know why it took me so long, because I remember hearing about it over the years, and I just never thought to watch it, but I'm glad I gave in. It is a great time, and I just want characters to be happy. That's all I want. That's all I'm asking for. Just at least give Mikasa a happy ending. Eren too. Eren, all the bullshit he's going through. Armin, my boy Armin, I love him. Y'all, I just want people to be happy. So that is it for all the shows I watched. What am I currently watching? Not a lot has been watched in April just because I got like really caught up with stuff. I'm halfway through season 1 of Sword Art Online. I have finished the first arc, and in summary, I am not a huge fan. I wasn't like a huge fan from the beginning, but I was like actually having fun. Like, I had a lot of problems with it, but I was having fun with it, if that makes sense. Like, I was able to put the problems aside and still have fun with the anime, but then the arc ended and like something about it like really pissed me off, but I also heard it gets better as the show goes on, so that's why I'm determined to get season 1 of Sword Art Online done. The next one I'm watching is Attack on Titan Junior High, which is a parody of Attack on Titan, and it is hilarious. I actually only have 1 episode left. I just want you all to know that I will throw myself into oncoming traffic for Chibi Armin. He is so cute in this. They're all cute as chibis, but especially Armin. Oh my god, I will throw myself into oncoming traffic. I will jump off the Sears Tower. I will step on a pile of Legos. I will burn my feet. I will do anything to make sure this boy is protected. And then any future shows I want to watch are all anime. Like, a lot of things on my to-watch list this year are anime. One of them is Joran, I think it's pronounced Joran, the Princess of Blood and Snow. This is an original anime, meaning it's not based off a manga. Suddenly, the moment I started watching Attack on Titan, that's when I started getting all these like anime recs in my YouTube recommendations, and I skipped all of them except the trailer for this one, and I don't know why, and I'm not upset about it because now I want to watch this. I also want to watch Wonder Egg Priority, but I was informed that the last episode does not come out until June, so I think it was like postponed until June, so I think that's when I'm going to watch it. Like, I have no idea what Wonder Egg Priority is about other than like the main character looks like Coraline, and that's what my draw was to that. I also want to mention though another show I'm like currently watching, but not like religiously, but it's Kitchen Nightmares, and it's just one of those shows like once you start watching the clips on YouTube, you can't stop, and they're just so wild that I would watch full episodes, and the secondhand embarrassment I get from some of these people is just so bad, I have to skip through it. But Gordon Ramsay's so funny, especially when he calls people the weirdest names. Like, obviously you have like fucking idiot and all that, but then he called someone a fucking donut once, and I was like, same, relatable. This one's not like my priority or anything, it's just one of the things that I tell myself, oh, it's time to read, and then I sit down and play with my phone, and 4 hours later I've accidentally watched 4 episodes of this. But yeah, that is the end of this video. This was very hard for me to film because I feel like I'm losing my mind with this damn cold. But yeah, tell me your thoughts on this video. Like, have you seen any of these shows? What shows have you been watching? I'm very curious. I'm always looking for new shows to watch. But if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. And without further ado, I'm gonna peace out, and I will see you guys later. Ciao a tutti.